Good afternoon. My name is Christine Cali-Sanchez, and I am the Associate Director of the Miami, Florida Jean Monnet Center of Excellence and European and Eurasian Studies Program at Florida International University. I am pleased to welcome you today to this fourth Meet EU European Expert Career Panel, which is part of a two-year grant which we at Florida International University, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and the University of Pittsburgh received from the European Commission. Today's panel is designed for students and alumni who want to work with or for European businesses in Europe, the United States, or other regions, but also for anyone who wants to learn about having a successful career in European business and the trend in the European markets. Before we begin, I would like to thank the European Commission and the delegation of the European Union to the United States for graciously funding this project, Getting to Know Europe, Meet EU. And our partners, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, the University of Pittsburgh, and our partners at Florida International University, the Stephen J. Green School of International and Public Affairs, the Career and Talent Development at SIPA, the College of Business, and the Center for International Business, Education and Research. I would also like to thank our partners in the community, the European American Chambers of Commerce, the French, the Italian, the German, the Spanish, all of which helped us find today's panelists. I want to sincerely thank our panelists for taking the time out of their busy schedules to join us today to advise our students. Thank you so much. By now, you know that I'm French, and today, we will have a truly European panel with experts from France, Germany, Italy, and Spain, as well as a great moderator. And without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to him, Mr. Paul Griebel, Executive Director of the World Strategic Forum and Vice President of the World Affairs Council's Miami. Paul, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine. What a pleasure to be here today moderating this terrific panel. I'd also like to thank Florida International University, which is one of the crown jewels of South Florida's higher education arena, as well as the Jean Monnet Center of Excellence, which is such a critical piece for Miami and South Florida's global affairs and business sector. Really a true pleasure to be speaking with our panelists today and to have such a great audience of students and others who are interested in this topic. I have the pleasure of serving as the executive director of the World Strategic Forum, which is an annual economic conference that takes place here in Miami, which is overseen by the International Economic Forum of the Americas. I think that today's conversation is so important as the world starts to reopen, and we saw how eager people are to get back to doing business within their communities and in the broader global sense. When we had our forum just last month, we returned to an in-person and virtual hybrid format, and it was great to have those conversations taking place again. So again, I'm really thrilled to be here to speak with all of our panelists today. I first learned about the Jean Monnet Center of Excellence while I was working with the Beacon Council, which is Miami-Dade County's economic development agency. And again, we were working with a lot of global businesses and dignitaries and incoming delegations while I was at the Beacon Council. And I know the great work that they do in the economic development realm and in the area of global affairs for Miami. So I think the panel that's been brought together today really signifies the great work that they do. We are going to start today with presentations from each of our panelists, and I will introduce them in just a moment, and then we will turn it over to Q&A. We'll have an ongoing dialogue between our four panelists, and we invite all of you in the audience to submit any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A box on your screen, on your Zoom screen. Please feel free to start sending in your questions as the panelists are speaking. We'll make sure to note them down and get to them once we open up for discussion. So again, we have the pleasure today of having 4 distinguished speakers representing very dynamic perspectives from the European Union, various countries in Europe, and the various business sectors that they represent. First, we have Jimmy Benaudis, who is a partner with EY France. We will turn it over to him in just a moment, but first I'll also mention our other panelists, Marcus Haderlein, who will be representing the German perspective today, representing Nobilia North America as their Chief Operating Officer. Dania Maccaferri, representing the Italian perspective. She is the CEO of Beghelli North America, and Juan Pereira, who's the Executive Director of the Spain-US Chamber of Commerce, of course, representing the Spain perspective today. All of their bios are available on the event page that you registered on. So if you'd like to see more of their backgrounds written out, you can find them there. But of course, they'll give you sort of their own background in their own words. So as I mentioned, we have today Jimmy Benaudis representing France and EY France. And Jimmy, I will turn it over to you for your opening comments.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much, Christine, for organizing this. Very excited to be here. And if anything we say can help the students make better decisions for their career, I think we will have achieved something today. So very briefly about my role, my career. So I'm a partner with Ernst Young. We call that EY now. I've been actually with EY for over 30 years. And honestly, when I started with EY 30 plus years ago, I had no idea that 30 years later I would be here. So this is something that we learn along the way, is that when we are a student or we are younger, it's very difficult to picture oneself long term. So this is one thing that I take away from my own path. One thing that I knew, I didn't know how to achieve that at the time. One thing that I knew is that I wanted to be in a company that would eventually help me build an international career. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know, but I knew that if I joined a company like that, it would give me opportunities for my international career, because that's what I wanted to do. I'm heading now within EY, I'm heading now what we call the French Business Network. So basically, the French Business Network is an initiative that I started over, well, almost 20 years ago now, to make sure that our most strategic French clients, meaning the largest French companies, some of them you will probably know, like L'Oreal, like Louis Vuitton, like some of them, there's a bunch of them, would get the best possible service from our offices abroad. And we'll get back probably to that, and if you want, through the Q&A, but we learned before that it's not because we have a great client in France that has a lot of subsidiaries around the world that our offices around the world recognize the fact that this is a very important client for all of us. So I have put together an initiative that makes sure that in each office, each important office of EY around the world that is involved in servicing such companies, we have a French presence. So I spent a lot of time over the last 20 years, and I'm still doing it, relocating people from our offices in France throughout the world, not only in the US, but throughout the world. And it really matches something else that we'll probably be discussing later on, which is the cultural aspect of doing business with French companies. French companies, and most of them, the largest ones, when they have important subsidiaries around the world, they like to have one of their own involved in the leadership of those companies. So instead of finding local talent, which there is plenty, obviously, they feel more comfortable having one of their own or a few of their own. So from our perspective as consultants or auditors within EY, having also our group of French partners, French people, relocating to these locations where French subsidiaries are operating and building strong relationship based on common understanding of challenges and trust, between themselves and the local leaderships of the subsidiaries of our client was key. And we're able to achieve a lot of success thanks to that. And it helped us make a big difference between ourselves and our competition. So the challenge for me was to find the right people to send all over the world. Because when we describe the project like that, it seems very appealing, but we found out that people can be very interested in international careers, but those who actually go for an international career are fewer. And there are many explanations. Well, let's put it that way. When you're in Europe and you want to go to work somewhere else in the world, language is not really an issue because most of the young people in Europe speak English. So you can manage the English language all over the world. Now, if I take the other way around, which I've tried several times, finding US talent to send over to France, then it becomes more challenging because it's very difficult. It's not easy to go to work in France if you don't speak French. So if this is my advice to all of the students who would love to have some kind of French experience in their career, they should start anticipating, and if they don't speak French already, make sure that they can speak French. So that's number one. The second thing is the culture. There is a difference between working with a US company, let's say, and the French company. In the US company, here in the US environment is something. In France, the French environment is something else. I would say that the French environment, the regulations and all that, from an employee point of view, are more protective, which means that a company has more trouble letting go of employees if they have to in France than in the US. But on the other hand, there's a number of things that make foreign students, I would say, finding the right job in France. And of course, there is all the relocation process, there is all the adaptation to the culture, there is the language you spoke about, and there is also the fact that the compensations are not the same in France and in the US. So if I take, for example, a young talent here in the US is going to start up with my company, and a young talent in France is going to start with our own company, well, the compensation is not going to be the same. So we need to intellectually accept that gap, knowing that then, of course, the cost of living is going to be different and all that. But my main takeaway from my own experience and the experience that I have making people relocating from one place to another, from France or from other places to other countries, is that it's something that brings you intellectual wealth beyond any measure. And I couldn't insist more on that. Spending 3, 4, 5 years working abroad would make anybody much more aware of what is going on in the world, of how the world works. And when they come back home, they will be really a step ahead, further ahead from their peers who have chosen not to do that. So it's a challenge. It can be complicated. It requires preparations. It requires a number of things, but in the end, it's really something that makes a difference in a lifetime. So I don't know if I have more time, Paul, or if I reached my limit and we save the rest for the Q&A. You tell me.
No, please. If you have some sort of final thoughts on the topic, please.
Oh, I mean, the experience have been so meaningful to me that I could spend hours talking about that. But look, again, the most important thing, one of the most important things, at least. And those are things that were not existing in my time. When I was a student, we didn't have the semester abroad. We didn't have all these kind of tools that can help students really prepare better for international careers. But today, I would encourage really all the students who would be interested in any international career. And if it's France, it's France. If it's Italy, if it's China, if it's Australia, whatever, just take advantage as much as you can of all the tools that are at your disposal right now through semester abroad, through other kind of things, just to make sure that you're well prepared to be successful when you enter in a career in a different place.
That's terrific advice. And I think what you said at the beginning of your comments about trying to picture where you would be long-term in your career, it's difficult, but I'm sure if you could go back and talk to yourself during your undergraduate studies about what you would do, I'm sure you would pass along the same advice. So that's great. Terrific. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Jimmy. We will now turn to Marcus Haderlein, who again is the Chief Operating Officer of Nobilia North America. Marcus, please, I know you have some slides to share with us. We look forward to hearing about your company, your background, and your experience working internationally.
Exactly. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Christine, for having me here. Thank you, Jimmy. Also, I agree on a lot of points, what he mentioned there. So I will not say the same thing here, but it's definitely, you see the experience there. So from shortly to my person, I also have a very international education. One thing which is a little bit special in my case, there is a special education in Germany. So after high school graduation, actually at that time, I still had to go to social service, which was social service or military. And then after that, there is a professional apprenticeship, it's called. It's about 3.5 years. And this is this is what I did. So you really have a practical experience there. And I did my apprenticeship as a professional forwarding agent in a very big forwarding company. So it was already very international. And after that, if you study, so I studied really when I was 25 years old, I started to study. You have a lot of experience already about everything. Yeah. So one of my advices would definitely be also try to get as much practical experience as possible. From what I do here, I just want to really shortly present the company. I'm working already 15 years for Nobilia, and the past 13 years I worked in Spain. So I built up the Spanish market, the Latin American market, and Portugal. And since more or less 3 years now, I'm in Miami, where we have a new company, which is called Nobilia North America. It's a daughter company of the German company. So really quickly, we go to some slides just to have an idea what we do. Nobilia is actually the biggest manufacturer of kitchens in the world. So the hour we are speaking here, Nobilia will have produced roughly 220 complete kitchens. So it's really amazing how many kitchens can be built in that short time. We have 3 production sites, very highly automated. Yeah, and the production sites are in center of Germany, in Düsseldorf, near Düsseldorf. And the third production plant was just recently finished near the French border, because France is our biggest export market. Next slide. So this is the plant 1 in Fell. This is near Düsseldorf, 1.2 million square feet of production area. And we're producing roughly 1,700 kitchens here every day. On the next slide, you see the second one, which we started actually in 2006. We are also producing roughly 1,700 kitchens here. It's even bigger. And it's only like about 5 miles away from the other plant. And on the next slide, you see the third plant, which is in Saint-Louis, very near to the French border, as I said. So the company is also very international. I don't even know how many nations are working with us, but we also export in more than 96 countries worldwide. On the next slide, I will show you will not read it through, it's just a history. It's a family-owned business, started actually after World War II in 1945 with 7 employees. And it's always interesting to see how this developed up to now. So we recently had the 75th birthday of the company, and we are now roughly in 4,000 employees. On the next slide, you see just some pictures. So that's actually the beginning in 1945, and then in 1970 the plant, and some faces to it. The owner here and important leaders. The next slide will show a little bit the business development. You cannot see really the figures, but there was not one single year that nobilia really went down in sales. It's always growing, growing, growing. And that is also mainly due to the internationalization. So because if you concentrate only on one market, let's say Germany, there's much more fluctuation in that market. And if you have you spread your focus to different countries, that makes it really, you know, is a diversification, and it's very good for the sales. The next slide. We see a little bit our international sales. As I said, more than 96 countries export, and in most of the countries outside Germany, we are the market leader when it comes to German products. In Germany, we're about 30%. We're also the market leader in kitchens, and in a lot of countries, we are exporting with a big success. In the next slide, we see just the product itself, how it can look like. Yeah, so you just can flip through the slides here, Stephen. Will not talk about that too much. It's just an impression of the product we are really offering. The next slide. We do also bathrooms. That's also something new for the last 3 years now. And on the next slide, also you see some wardrobe and shelving solutions. And yeah, you just can flip through the sides. Living spaces, also something we offer. And one of the, I mean, I don't go too much into detail in the product, but one of the things that's really important also for the American market here with the kitchens is that we have a very, very functional kitchen when it compared to the national product, and very ergonomical kitchens for it. Yeah, so every quality seal here from our product. So these are the highest standards in the German market. And I think that's it, right? The next slide is already, okay, that's it. How much time do I have left, Paul?
I think you have about 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay, so it was fast, right? It was good.
Yeah.
So many slides, but I think it's always nice to see what product the company is really doing. And that was always one of my things also, but I mean, everybody is different there. I just, when I did my studies of international management, it was all in English. Also the diploma, the thesis, everything was in English. And actually I was prepared, let's say, to go abroad, and it was always my dream and my idea of having a lot of experience abroad, not only in Germany, but representing something from my country. So to really represent a product where I can stand behind, and specifically always I knew that this is my thing. So that's actually where I then focused on. But I could also imagine, and it was my own experience after high school studying, that's great, but you don't really know what you want to do. So if you would have told me 20 or 30 years ago that I will be in the kitchen business, it was something I didn't even know that it exists. Yeah, so you never know where you end up. I think that's something that also Jimmy said a little bit before. You have to keep an open mind. You cannot, I mean, you can, but it will be difficult to plan your career. That exactly the next steps. You have to be open, but specifically when you're open and also open to other cultures, and you're willing to go abroad and learn and get to know different cultures, different people, I can only agree. I can say it's really great. Yeah, I lived 13, 14 years in Spain. I know Spain very well, and of course you have to speak Spanish if you live there. There's no way around it. That's also a big advantage. So I learned Spanish also a little bit during my studies. English, you can, you know, that's that's of course very, very important. But the same thing is a little bit, not so much like in France, but if you are planning on going to Germany, it's not really necessary to speak German. Of course, you will learn it, it's great, but a lot of companies in Germany specifically, because they are very focused on the export, it is enough to speak English, but it's always a big, big plus if you speak another language, even if it's not German, but if it's French or Spanish or Chinese or something like that, just because it's very much export orientated.
Great, thank you so much, Marcus. I think so far what we've gleaned from both you and Jimmy is keeping an open mind and remaining open to new opportunities. Whether it's to study something new, to live in a new place, to try a new company or industry, I think that's a really important part of moving ahead in your career. Certainly something that I've experienced as well. So thank you for your comments. And Nobilia has some beautiful products. I thought that was a great piece to include there. Let's turn now to Dania Maccaferri, who is the CEO of Beghelli North America, and will be speaking today representing the Italian perspective. Dania. Dania, are you on mute, perhaps?
Yes, here you go. So, good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Griebel. My name is Dania Maccaferri, and I am the Managing Director for the International Division of the Beghelli Group and the CEO of Beghelli North America. We manufacture and distribute around the world lighting products and safety products, which have been installed in more than 100 countries. By running the international division of Beghelli, I manage manufacturing and commercial facilities in China, Hong Kong, Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary, Germany, Mexico, and the USA. We are present in the United States in many installations, starting from Fort Lauderdale and Miami Airport, all the way with references and corporate headquarters of Microsoft, Google, Amazon, LinkedIn, etc. I started with the Beghelli about 30 years ago, while I was still a student at the University of Bologna, where I studied literature and philosophy. In Beghelli, I started to work in the purchasing department, and I traveled to China, South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, and others. And I had a lot of interactions with the Far East, and especially with Japanese manufacturers like Panasonic or Sony. And that was in the early 90s. And at that time, the Japanese industry was experimenting new and innovative techniques related to lean manufacturing, just-in-time inventory, Kaizen, which was a great school for me. And after a few years, I came to the US, where I opened the US office, then the Mexico office, and then the Canadian operations. And in 2008, I was offered the position of managing director for the international division in Beghelli, and I started to take care of several European divisions. You may think that there is incongruity between studying liberal arts and business management. But in my case, I have to say that my studies have been extremely useful for my business. Because when you study literature, history, or philosophy, you study the human mind, human culture, and behaviors. And at the same time, when you interact in business or when you prepare a strategy, you do it according to what and who is in front of you. You try to understand the psychology of your client or supplier, and you try to understand the culture of the market. In fact, what I really enjoy about my work the most is the anthropological element of it. How I have to adapt my behavior and my strategy, my market approach, depending on where I am and with whom I am interacting. Having said that, I strongly believe that it's very important to study sales and marketing, but especially business finance. Never depend on the opinion of your financials, of others on your financial statement, because too many times a financial statement can be interpreted in many different ways. And so it's very important to know how to read a financial statement, a profit and loss, or a balance sheet. It is important to dissect all economic data and to have a full financial view of the company. And our international expansion was due to a strict logic of adaptation, meaning the basic components which are made in China or in the Czech Republic are the same, but the final product is assembled and completed in the destination country, modifying it according to the desire of the customer or the market trend. Even in this world of globalization, in which we're all closer and connected, in this world in which you can find a McDonald's everywhere, or there's Facebook or Instagram, we still have differences, and we need to read, learn, and adapt. Read a specific behavior or culture, learn the nuances, and adapt yourself to the new circumstances. And this brings me to the difference in running a business in Europe and the United States, or working for an American company or European company, because in my view, they're not even two different markets. They are sometimes two different planets. And I agree with Jimmy and Marcus about the language. I mean, in the US, the population is about more than 300 million, and there is one language, English. In Europe, with the same population of more than 300 million, there are 24 different languages spoken, official languages. And English is not number one. Number one is Russian with 120 million people. Then German with 100 million people. And then French with 80 million people. So English is number 4 with 70 million people. And yes, English is the universal business language. But if you go to France, you must speak French. And if you go to Italy, you must learn Italian. Because even the ability of speaking English is not so common. For example, yes, in Germany, 44% of the population speaks English. But in Spain, only 12%. And in France, just 31%. So the knowledge of a language is a must in order to be there. And then, of course, that's the difference number one between Europe and the United States. But then there's others, like the negotiation process. There's a lot of difference in how you negotiate. And the other one, which to me is very important, is the product adaptability. It is very rare to see products that are exactly the same in Europe and the US. No matter if it is in the fashion industry or in architecture or in food, the products are different and adapted to the market. Coca-Cola has 60 different flavors around the world. You may think that IKEA's products are the same all over the world, but in fact, IKEA's catalog changes from country to country. They maintain their brand, their image, the logo, but they definitely adapt the catalog to the country in which they're present. So if you have invented a patent, invented something and you want to patent it, and you want to export it to Europe, rest assured that you may have to adapt it to a specific market. So when you file a patent, include certain variations, thinking big about the opportunities in Europe or in other markets. And other things are formalities. Formalities in Europe are quite important. The use of doctor, if you talk to someone who's graduated, or Mr. When you talk to someone in France or Spain or Italy or Portugal, you use the formal version of you, which is usted in Spanish, or vous in French. And conversations and negotiations are soft-spoken. Do I have time?
Yes, yeah, you have a few more
Yeah?
minutes. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, I saw some of the questions and they were related to where do I go? What do I do? Which can be an entry level in Europe. I think that more important is to choose your location. If you want to go into fashion, you focus in Milan or Paris. If you want to go into the wine industry, you go to Bordeaux or Veneto or Rojas. If you want to go into the naval engineering, you go to Genoa. And so these are all the elements that would fall into transforming yourself into a leader.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Dania. That was terrific. I think your comments on understanding the market that you're entering and being able to adapt your product or concept is so important. And I think there's a lot of professionals opining lately that I've seen talking about the really trying to encourage their children or students that they meet with to focus on maybe more industry specific degrees such as engineering or computer sciences, which of course are certainly worthwhile. But I think what you said about understanding mind, culture, history, the behavior of people is so important to get into international business and to really help you understand how you can adapt your business to different cultures, I think is really relevant. So thank you for that. So before we get to the Q&A, we have our final speaker today will be Juan Carlos Pereira, who is the Executive Director of the Spain-US Chamber of Commerce, of course, representing the Spanish perspective today. So Juan Carlos, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. And also, thanks, Christine, and thanks, Paul, for the invitation to be here with the rest of my colleagues. Being the last one, I think it's a good thing because I don't have to repeat myself, because the most important things have been already said by Jimmy, by Marcus, and also by Dania. So, well, from my personal side, I would say that I studied in Spain, I studied law because when I was young and I had to decide what path should I take, I wasn't really clear about what I wanted to do. But I decided to study law because in Spain at that time, if you study something related to law, it gives you a broad map tool, or it gives you a lot of different opportunities. You can later decide if you want to focus in one industry or another, but understanding the regulations gives you a common background that it might be helpful in the future. So that was the reason why I studied law. But I never thought, or I never had a completely clear idea about what I wanted to do. So I agree with some of my colleagues that they mentioned before that you will see with time where your life brings you. So don't be afraid if you are not sure about what you want to do. So after I studied law, I spent some time specializing in taxes. And my first job in Spain was at a consultancy firm specialized in technology and adapting the incoming programs to obtain taxes from the governments to software. I spent 3 years there, and after 3 years there, I changed. Then I came to the US 12 years ago, and I spent these past 12 years doing different things. I've been in five different companies since I came here to the US. And most of the time, what I've been doing is business development. I started here helping companies from Spain doing business here in the States. Later on, I was the country manager of a power electronics company, completely different business, completely different industry. I had to learn a lot about power electronics and about equipment and renewable energy plants, things like that, which was something that I enjoyed very much. Although I wasn't an expert on that, I I learned a lot about the technicians, and because I enjoy it, that helped me in that job. I spent 4 years with that company. Later on, I had the opportunity to help a company manufacturer of guitars, of Spanish guitars, to help them straighten things in the US, in the United States. After that, I again returned to consultancy firm, a US consultancy firm, and I spent 3 years helping companies from many different industries to start their business here in the US. And since 2018, I am at the Spain-US Chamber of Commerce as the executive director. And what we do here, it's help companies from Spain, but also from the US and also from other countries doing business in the US, in Spain, and also in Latin America. So although we are the Spain-US Chamber of Commerce, we have also some members that are not from Spain. We have some Latin American companies, and we have some European companies as well that decided to come with us. So my day-to-day, or the things that we do in the chamber every day, it's to identify opportunities for many different sectors from many different industries and try to bring those opportunities to our members. We provide consultancy services and we work with companies from food and beverage industry, but also construction services, engineering, aviation, you name it. We have more than 420 members. Those are 420 different companies with different needs. We usually differentiate those companies between those that are coming for the first time to the US, or those that are already here in the US. Maybe they've been here for many years. And those different types of companies need different things. Some of them need more guidance and more help and support. And others, the ones that have been here for many years, they need different things, different resources. And we try to adapt to both of them. So the thing that I enjoy the most at my job, it's to learn every day about different companies. It's an amazing experience. Not only because you learn new things, and that you need to be a curious person, and I am a curious person in the good way. I love to listen to what passionate people. And as I was saying, it's not only that you learn new things, it's that you learn those things from the best people and people that are completely passionate with their work. We talk every day with entrepreneurs, and they explain to you why they came with this great idea that they are developing. And they explain you the differences and their competitive advantage and so many details that you see the world with a different perspective. So this is one of the things that I see more appealing for a career in the international business, and to be lucky enough, like myself, that I'm every day meeting with different companies and learning a lot about them. But for many of you that are studying at this time or are about to finish their studies, I agree with all my previous colleagues. Everything they said is 100% true. I would say that languages, I think it's the most important thing that you need. If I had to choose something, it would be to learn 2 or 3 or as many languages as you can. That is going to provide you an incredible tool to work anywhere in the world, not only Europe, but anywhere in the world. So that it's a nice thing to take home today. How many languages do I know? And you should start learning a new language. That's very important. In Spain in particular, if you know more than 2 languages, you have a huge advantage, because as Dania said before, in Spain, not everybody speaks English. In fact, she mentioned before, 12% of the population speaks English. Maybe it's a little bit about that, but not much, maybe it's 15%. So someone that it's interested in international business or to work in Spain, they will be able to have a lot of opportunities because many Spanish companies are desperate looking for people that speaks English to develop their business somewhere else. I was talking 3 weeks ago with a very interesting technology company. They do automation, robotic automation. Their technology, it's so unique that there are only 4 companies in the world that do that. And one is in Spain, and they were born in Seville, a very nice town in the south of Spain. Well, that company, because of their unique technology, was bought last year by a US company, a huge US company. And they kept the headquarters and the core team in Spain. The headquarters of this US company is not in Spain, obviously it's in the US, but they kept more than 45 or 50 engineers and the previous CEO there in Spain. Well, they are hiring more people, but they have difficulties finding people that could speak good English. So, and that's an example. And everyone here today knows how to speak English. So you have that advantage. So let's learn Spanish. That's the other key. If you want to go to Spain, it's good to learn Spanish because you're going to be able to communicate with the rest 60% of people or 70% that doesn't speak English. And by the way, Spanish is a good language to learn because it's not spoken just in Spain. It's spoken by more than 600 million people around the world. So it's a good investment. And definitely, if you're looking to work not only in Spain, but other countries in Europe, like France, Germany, or Italy, if you have the time, I encourage you to learn those languages. As the more languages that you learn, the easier it's going to be for you in the future. So that's one key point. The second thing that I would just highlight a little bit is something that it was also said before, but I think that it's important to take that into account. The culture is different, of course. The European culture is different from the US culture, but then again, inside Europe, there are many different cultures inside. So people want to try to say, okay, Europe is that way, US is this way, but no, people are different, and there are many different countries in Europe with different, not languages, but cultures as well. So it's important and it's nice to learn the cultures of these different countries. From the working perspective, something that I noticed that it's a huge difference from the US and Spain in particular, is the formalities. As Dania said before, in Spain, the business environment, it's more formal than here in the US. For example, well, today we are online at this time, but let's say that this meeting was in person. Well, we should be perfect as we are right now here in the US. In Spain, I would go with a tie here today. And many people in Spain go every day to work with a tie. Not only lawyers, like here in the US, not only bank and financial institutions here in the US, no, but everyone, a lot of different people. So that's a thing that it's weird and strange for US people going to Spain. Why that formality? That is how it is. And new technologies is changing. The new younger generations are changing that a little bit, but it's still is that way. It's more formal. And of course, as Jimmy said before, we must take into account the compensation is not going to be the same by far. The same person with the same type of work in Spain and in the US, in Spain is going to earn maybe half of the money that it's going to earn here. But you have other things. You have the enrichment of learning a new culture, understanding a way of thinking, a different way of thinking. As Jimmy said at the beginning, living in a different country opens your mind, and it's something priceless, completely priceless. And some other thing that it's good as well. Okay, you might earn less money, but you're going to have much more vacations, much more holidays. In Spain, they give you like 25 days a year, the first year that you enter a job. Here in the US, you could get nothing, or maybe 9 days the first day that you enter a work, no? So that's also a good thing. And well, everybody knows that life in Spain is nice, and people love to party and talk and drink wine and have a good meal, as well as in France or Italy or Germany. Well, Germany, the weather is a little bit more tough, but it's something that it's in the European culture. So there are pros and cons, but definitely to spend several years outside your comfort zone in a different country, you're going to get much more than just the money that you earn. You're going to get experience, you're going to get perspective, and you're going to get confidence. And also you're going to get a better idea of what you like and what you don't like and what you can do and what you cannot do. And that will give you an advantage later on in your life to choose which is the path you want to take. And I will leave it there and listen to the questions from the audience.
That's great. Thank you so much, Juan Carlos. And I can second your comment on life in Spain. I had the pleasure of doing a semester abroad there when I was doing my undergraduate degree, and it certainly is a beautiful place with a wonderful culture and just a great place to live for an extended period. I have a set of questions that we have prepared for the speakers, but I have to say we've gotten some terrific questions from our audience so far. So I want to make sure that we touch on as many of these as we can. There's one that really jumped out to me right off the bat that I want to ask each of you. I think this sort of stems from Dania's comments earlier about, understanding where you might want to go based on the industry sector that you're interested in working in. So, fashion in France or Italy, for example. And I'm curious, maybe the other way. So if you're interested in living in a particular country, whether it's France, Germany, Spain, or Italy, what sectors or what business areas should these the students be looking at? Whether they're applying for jobs in that industry, or if they're entrepreneurial, if they're looking to maybe start a small business in that country, which way should they look? So, for example, I was just looking at it from the Miami perspective. My time at Beacon Council, I can say that two industries in particular that if I was talking to students about, looking for jobs or trying to start businesses or enter an industry in Miami-Dade County, I would certainly recommend trade and logistics based on our strength with our port and airport and the movement of goods through Miami as sort of a trade hub for Latin America and North America, Europe as well, or healthcare. Just there's a real booming healthcare industry here in Miami. And so if you have a mind for digital health or medical devices, there's a lot of opportunity there as well. So I want to turn that question to each of you. Jimmy, let's go back to you first. Do you have any thoughts on that? Which industries students should look at if they want to enter the French market?
Yeah, sure. Look, as Dania said, some things jump to mind immediately, like luxury, for example, like fashion, like wine. I would add aeronautics, of course. Airbus is one. But look, based on my experience of relocating hundreds of young people, young talents from one place to another around the world, my best advice that I've been giving them consistently, and unfortunately those who have not followed it were not happy with their experience. If you want to go somewhere, pick a place that you love. Sector is important, industry is important, everything, but pick a place that you like, that you want to live in. Because more than a job, it's a life experience. It's not just a job. It's really, if you want to go to Italy, it's because you love Italy. And then you're going to be successful in Italy because you're so happy to be there that you're going to be happy to do whatever you're going to do in Italy. If you like Germany, just go to Germany. And if you work for BMW or Porsche or whoever, or Siemens or whatever other company, you'll be happy to be there because you're happy to be in Germany. So this is really the #1 priority, is to go to a place that you are attracted to. And then, of course, the industry. If you're more attracted by technology, of course, you're going to find a job in the technology space. If you're like a job, if you want a job in the consulting space, you're going to find. And especially for those of the students who are already a step ahead in life when it comes to family, who are not going alone, who are going as a couple or as a young family, you need to make sure that your family is going to be happy wherever you go. And I've seen so many young talents in my own company within E&Y who've been telling me, look, I want to have some international exposure. I want to have international experience. What are the opportunities worldwide? And I told them consistently, this is the very wrong question to ask. I want you to tell me, I want to go to China, and I make your dream come true. Don't tell me you want to go international. Tell me that you want to go somewhere, and then we're going to work on a business case and a business plan specifically designed for you. So you're going to be so happy to be there that you're going to outperform any business plan that we're going to build for you. So this is my experience, and this is my advice. Pick a place you like, and there's many to like.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you, Jimmy. Marcus, let's turn to Germany. Are there any particular industries or sectors that you would suggest any of our students that are interested in getting involved in business in Germany that they should focus on?
Yeah, I think if you compare Germany to Italy and France and Spain, of course, we have not that good cards like what Jimmy said. Come to Germany because you picked a place, yeah. I went to Spain. I lived in Marbella that's southern Spain, a beautiful place in Andalusia for 13 years, and that's exactly what Jimmy said. So it makes really sense. But of course, in Germany, if you want to have a career, you have very, very good possibilities. So the payment is good. The companies are very professional, and of course, I don't even know where to start with the product. I mean, nobody knows nobilia, for example, but we are the world leader. Yeah, and there's a lot of companies, they're world leaders without having a name. But Jimmy said that the automotive sector, of course, is very strong. Luxury goods, machinery, aeronautics, the same. I did my thesis with Airbus, which was also very good in Hamburg. They're a European company. And a lot of possibilities. I mean, for Europeans, of course, it's easy, yeah, because you can choose wherever you want to work. I say I want to work in Spain. I speak Spanish. I go to Spain and ask for a work there. Yeah, in Europe, it's possible. You don't need any papers, nothing. You can work wherever you want. For Americans, I saw some questions here. It's a little bit more difficult to do that, but I think depends a little bit what you're doing. But in an internship, I did it also during my studies. I had to go abroad for half a year, and that was actually in Malaga. So that's when I got to know this area, and this is a perfect way of getting to know a culture. Whatever you do, what is the industry? I think that's not really the most important thing. But if you like marketing, if you like sales, whatever, it doesn't really matter the company where you work in. Of course, it would be nicer to work for, I don't know, Porsche or some really big company. But in Germany, in that case, actually, you have a lot of possibilities with different companies and a lot of nice cities also. Not that nice like in Spain or Italy or France, but still, it's something different and nice, I think.
Great, thank you. Dania, I'll turn it to you for your thoughts on Italy and the opportunities there. We also want to fold in another question that was asked earlier in the hour. If you're aware of any platforms or methods that students can use to find entry-level positions in Italy, please do share those as well.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I agree with Jimmy 100%. You want to go to a place that is closer to your personality. I mean, if you like to spend long nights in the main piazza squares and enjoy people, then you want to go to a Latin country. If you're a more pragmatic person and you like technology and you're more of an engineer spirit, then you want to go to the Northern European countries. When you think about Italy, well, the first thing that comes to my mind is design. So design from an architectural point of view, an artistic point of view, or fashion, as well as there are several pockets that are highly technological in terms of manufacturing, machineries, technology related to software and machinery manufacturing. I think that Italy can offer, or European countries in general, can offer several platforms through internships in private companies, and those are usually done through Chamber of Commerce or through the universities, because there's a lot of connections between university in the United States and universities in Europe. I know that in Germany, there's a lot of internships after, before full employment. They are internships for 6-9 months or a year, in which young students or graduate students can work. Yes, the salary is not very, it's quite different compared to the United States. But overall, the quality of life is at the same level, because you don't have the type of expenses that you have in the United States, even if you have a lower salary. So it kind of balances itself. So there are plenty of opportunities. To me, the most important thing is pick a place, like Jimmy says, in which you feel that you want to be there. If you are the type of person who likes to spend long nights in the piazza, don't go to Norway. In Norway, everybody at 9:30 is in bed. So that's the difference.
Great, thank you very much. And Juan Carlos, let's I'll pose the same question to you. Or students that are interested in moving to Spain for business, which I'm sure there are many, are there industries they should focus on, and what avenues can they pursue to get entry level positions in those industries?
I would say that I don't think there's a specific industry that they should focus, depending on what they do. I think there's plenty of opportunities in many different industries. So depending on what you have done, pick the place, as was previously said, and try to find there your right place. But if you want to know the most demanded positions at this time in Spain, those are software development, software architecture, finance, and also healthcare, but for a paramedic, not specifically for doctors. But I don't think that that's something that the audience today it's focused on, and it has, it's a different type of studies here, so that doesn't qualify. But in general, software architecture, software development, and finance related with technology are the most demanded positions at this time. But there are plenty of other things that where someone from the US could benefit from, like the food and beverage industry. Spain has a lot of very important players worldwide in the food and beverage industries. Also in the wine industry, which is inside the food and beverage industry, we have very important wineries that are selling their wines worldwide, and they are looking for people that could develop their business elsewhere, worldwide. And what do they ask? English and other languages. So we go to the first part of the conversation. With languages, your life is going to be easier, and you are going to be able to choose where you want to work. That's what I would say.
Terrific, thank you. That kind of leads me into my next question. I know we're running a little tight on time here, but I want to get a few more questions to each of you before we wrap up. So Jimmy, I'm going to turn to you next with this question. We've had a lot of questions in the Q&A box about how students can maybe bump up their resume to get it noticed, or certain qualifications they might have, or majors, areas of study that they should focus on. What if they've chosen, based on your recommendation of kind of choosing the place first, so they're looking at different opportunities to work in France. Are there things they should keep in mind, or things they should try to have on their resume or in their cover letter to really emphasize their strengths for those kind of positions in France?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm not gonna mention the language again. This is, of course, something so obvious and has been mentioned so many times by my colleagues and myself that I think that by now they got the message. So if they want to apply for a job in France, it's very important to make sure that the resume shows that without any question, because they're going to go through interviews and they're going to find out very quickly whether you're a French speaker with the ability to work in France. I'm not suggesting that you should be fluent as a French guy, but you need to be able to work. And this is specifically important in France for the following reason. And this is really a difference between the US and France. When you land a job in the US, you land a job. It's basically a paycheck. You go to work because you're doing whatever you're going to do, and at the end of the day, what? In France, it's very different. When you land a job, you land a social life. When you land a job, you're not only going to the office to do your job and to get your paycheck, you go to the office to make friends. Because next thing you know, people are going to invite you over for dinner, you're gonna have, and it's, so you need to keep that in mind. If you're not able to communicate properly in French, it's not gonna work out for you. So this is really number one. Number two, you need to show that you're committed to staying in France for a while. If you start your letter by saying, I would like to spend 1 year or whatever, it's not gonna work. You need to show a commitment. You're gonna, not necessarily to move to France forever, but at least to say that you want to stay a few years in France. And then if you do that, then of course you're going to be regarded with all your pluses, and your minuses are going to go away. Your pluses are that you're coming from the US, so obviously your English is perfect, which is an asset when you work in France. Like it's been said before, either in Spain or in Germany or in Italy, speaking English today is a must, especially if you're looking for a well-paying job. So this is something that is going to help, but really make sure that you show commitment to invest in France, that you want to invest part of your life in France, that you're going to be there for a while, and not only as a tourist who's going to spend a few months and then going to go away.
What great insight. Thank you. I think that's a super helpful understanding to know that, the idea of building in a social life to your work life is a great thing to keep in mind. Marcus, let's pose the same question to you. Are there any things when a student is building a resume, a cover letter to apply for a position in Germany that they should keep in mind? And also, what are the cultural things or similar ideas that they should have in mind when they're considering Germany as a place for their career?
I would say in Germany, it depends a little bit where you go. So if you go, for example, to Berlin, I said that before, the language would be great to speak German, but it would be even better to speak maybe another language, and then learn German there. Definitely, we spoke about that. So languages is definitely a big plus. It depends in what company you're gonna work. So it's a big plus also to know the American culture, because at the end of the day, the cultures, they look often that it's very similar, Europe and American, but often it's not. So the tastes are very different. And also some other cultural aspects have to be taken into consideration. So as an American, it would be great to have this opportunity to bring that into a German company, really. So, and again, it depends very much where you are going or what you want to do. But specific things actually is you have to have a good studies, good grades, of course. This is at the end of the day something what the HR department always looks at, because you have so many people applying for a job, so only the best will be taken there. So that's of course also something which is natural, I think, also in other countries.
Terrific, thank you. Dania, I'll turn this question to you as well. Are there areas of study or things that students should have on their resume, cultural things that they should keep in mind when they're looking at positions in Italy?
In Italy, it's very important, no matter if the company is a small one or a big one, it's very important to show that you want to belong to the organization, that you want to be part of it and assimilated with it, that you want to be a team member, that you care and you show that you care. You care for the company, your co-workers, your clients, your suppliers. There is that sense of family belonging that is still quite strong in Italy. So it doesn't matter for how long you're going to stay there. The important thing is that you are there and you belong to this group of people and you totally interact with them.
Perfect, thank you. And Juan Carlos, same question to you.
Mm-hmm. I will point out an important difference for the resume in the US versus Spain, at least in Spain. And this is that in Spain, you may include your photograph, a picture of you in the resume. And you may also include your age or your year of birth, which is something that you are not allowed here in the US, but in Spain you can. And taking into account the audience that we have today, that we have a lot of young and beautiful people, I would take advantage of that. So when you're preparing your resume for Spain, just remember to include your picture and your age, for example. It's something that is usual, everybody does it, so don't feel weird doing so. The rest of resumes that people are going to look will have that information. If they don't have that information, in fact, it will look weird. Why is this person not including his picture or his age? How old would this person be? So I would just point those two things.
That's very interesting. I had not heard of that before. So thank you for that. We have just a few minutes. The hour has really flown by here. I just want to thank everybody again for their comments. I know we just have really 3 or 4 minutes, so I want to give each of our panelists maybe a quick 30-second final words, any last bit of advice or thoughts that they want to share. So we'll go in order again. Jimmy, let's start with you.
Yeah, sure. No, the last thing I think I will insist on what I just said for those of the students who might be interested in going to France. The perspective of having a job in France versus the US is a bit different. Again, keep that in mind, because if you apply for a job in France, you're not only applying for a job, you're applying for a company that will allow you to make friends. And that's a big difference from what we live here in the US, where job is really more focused on what you do at work. Of course, in France, you'll be judged on your performances as well, of course, but it will be a place where you will make friends. So keep that in mind and pick a place where you know that you're going to make friends that look like you.
Terrific. Thanks so much. Marcus, to you, any final words?
Final words for me actually is really I can only tell the students to try to do an international experience wherever you go. If you go to France to Italy, wherever, Spain. In Europe, of course, you have the possibility to travel around, and you will not only learn the culture of this one specific country, but you know, you travel 2 hours and you're in a different country, so you learn a lot of different cultures, different people, the language, of course. And when you come back to the States, you will see also the States with different eyes, yeah, because that just gives you a very broad experience, and you're coming back with so much experience that you will very easily find a job here in any company, and can really have a great win of this experiences abroad.
Great. I absolutely second that comment. From my international experiences, I think it certainly does open your eyes to different cultures and ways of looking at the world. And when you come back to the U.S. at any point when you're applying for jobs, it certainly makes you a more appealing candidate. So if you have those opportunities for international work, absolutely take advantage of them. Dania, to you, any final thoughts, words of advice for the students in the audience? You are mute.
I would say have fun. I mean, if they can experience, if you can experience something like this in Europe or abroad internationally, the most important thing is to enjoy it to the core and to have fun. And always read and study, never stop to study. Study the people, study the environment, study their working processes. Stand tall and always be prepared. Have a plan for everything, study and have fun.
Words to live by right there. Always keep learning, always have fun. That's great. And Juan Carlos, the final word to you.
Well, I would say that the sooner, if you know that you want to spend some time abroad, the sooner you do it, the better. So don't leave it for next year or for 5 years. If you can do it this year, do it this year. If next year, but the sooner, the better. You will be able to learn more things earlier and apply those to your personal and professional life, and maybe find out exactly what you are looking for or what you are good at.
Absolutely, seize the day. Fantastic. All right, well, I want to thank all 4 of you again for your advice, your insights on your countries, your cultures, your businesses. And thanks again to the Jean Monnet Center of Excellence for their invitation to moderate this panel. It was my honor. And Christine, I will turn it back over to you for the closing comments.
I'm going to admit. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this panel. Thank you so much to everybody. And really, I worked everywhere in Europe, and it shows the best here today, the European person, but as well the American. And really, I thank you again for all your comments. Thank you to our sponsor again, our experts, our moderator who was terrific, and our panelists. And before we go, I would like to ask you to please fill out a brief survey, next slide, yes, that the European Commission has asked us to complete. So this, we need to do it. You have a QR here, and as well an address, please fill it out. And this panel has been recorded, and we will send it to all the persons who attended today. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you at our next event. Have a great day and a great event from Italy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.